Be me, 20, working at local coffee shop, trying to pay for college, studying political science because I thought it would make me sound smart at parties. Enter this girl named Riley, who comes in every Tuesday and Thursday for her usual oat milk latte. She's got that whole artsy feminist vibe going on with her vintage band shirts and docs, always carrying around books about gender studies and social justice theory. Seems pretty cool, and we start chatting during slow periods. She mentions she's in women's studies and immediately launches into a lecture about toxic masculinity. Most guys don't even realize how oppressive they are, she says while stirring her coffee. Nod along because I'm trying to be supportive, and also she's really cute. You seem different though, she tells me, like you actually get it. My face when I think I might have found the perfect progressive girlfriend. We start talking more, and she keeps dropping hints about how relationships should be equal partnerships. I just want someone who treats me like a queen, she says one day, but also respects that I'm an independent woman who doesn't need saving. Think this sounds reasonable and start planning how to be the perfect feminist boyfriend. Ask her out finally and she says yes, but only if we split the check. I don't believe in outdated gender roles, she explains. Totally fine with me because equality is important. Our first date is at this trendy restaurant she picked out. She orders the most expensive thing on the menu while I get a basic burger. When the check comes, she suddenly remembers she forgot her wallet. Can you cover me this time? She asks. I'll get you back. Pay for everything, thinking this is just a one-time thing. She texts me later saying what a gentleman I am for taking care of dinner. Confused because I thought we were supposed to split it, but whatever. Second date, she suggests we go to this art gallery opening. Dress nice, she tells me. I want to show you off. Spend money I don't have on a new shirt to impress her. At the gallery, she introduces me to her friends as my boyfriend, who actually respects women. They all nod approvingly like I passed some kind of test. Throughout the night, she keeps asking me to get her drinks and find chairs when she gets tired. You're so sweet for taking care of me, she says. Start to notice a pattern, but don't want to seem ungrateful. Third date, she wants to go to this expensive concert. Can you get the tickets? She asks. I'll totally pay you back. Spoiler alert, she never pays me back. At the concert, she complains about men taking up too much space, then immediately asks me to use my height to see over the crowd for her. This is what good boyfriends do, she says while I crane my neck. That feel when you realize you might be getting mixed signals. Start bringing up the money thing, and she gets defensive. Why are you keeping track? She asks. That's so transactional. I thought you wanted to treat me like a queen. Explain that I do, but I'm also a broke college student. She goes into a whole speech about how women have been financially oppressed for centuries. The least men can do is pay for dates, she concludes. Try to point out the contradiction, but she cuts me off. You're mansplaining feminism to me right now, she says. Apologize even though I'm not sure what I did wrong. Things continue like this for weeks. She wants me to open doors for her, but also complains about chivalry being sexist. Asks me to carry her bags, then lectures me about women being capable. Wants me to plan romantic dates, but criticizes traditional romance as patriarchal. My roommate Tyler notices I'm always broke and stressed. Dude, what's going on with you lately? He asks. Explain the situation, and he just stares at me. She's got you completely whipped, Tyler says, and not in a good way. Tell him he doesn't understand because she's fighting against centuries of oppression. By making you pay for everything, he asks. That sounds pretty oppressive to me. Ignore his advice because what does he know about progressive relationships? One day, Riley shows up at the coffee shop looking upset. I need to talk to you about something serious, she says. My heart sinks thinking she's about to break up with me. I've been thinking about our relationship, she continues, and I realize you've been exhibiting some problematic behaviors. Ask what she means while preparing for the worst. You keep bringing up money like it matters more than our connection, she says, and you don't seem to understand that treating me well isn't about keeping score. Feel like I'm being gaslit, but also genuinely confused. I thought you wanted equality, I tell her. I do, she says, but equality doesn't mean you stop being a gentleman. Treating me like a queen means putting my needs first. Try to wrap my head around this logic while she orders another expensive drink. Also, she adds, I think you need to educate yourself more about feminism. Recommends a bunch of books and articles I need to read. Spend my free time studying feminist theory, trying to understand what I'm doing wrong. The more I read, the more confused I get about our relationship dynamic. Bring up some points from the readings during our next date. Actually, I say, Bell Hooks talks about how both partners should contribute equally. She looks at me like I just committed a hate crime. You're really going to quote a black feminist to explain my own beliefs to me? She asks. That's like peak white male privilege right there. apologized profusely even though I was trying to be thoughtful. She spends the rest of dinner explaining why my comment was problematic. Meanwhile, I'm calculating how much this meal is going to cost me. Things come to a head during our 2-month anniversary dinner. She picks the fanciest restaurant in town and orders wine that costs more than my textbooks. "This is so romantic," she says. "You really know how to treat a woman right." When the check comes, it's literally half my monthly budget. Hand over my credit card while dying inside. She posts pictures on social media with captions about finding a real man. Her friends comment about how lucky she is to find someone who respects her. Feel proud for about 5 minutes until my card gets declined at the gas station. Realize I need to have a serious conversation about our finances. Meet her for coffee the next day and explain that I can't keep spending this much. "I care about you," I tell her, "but I'm going broke, trying to keep up." She immediately gets defensive and starts talking about internalized misogyny. "You're reducing our relationship to dollars and cents," she says. "That's exactly the kind of capitalist patriarchal thinking that oppresses women." Try to explain that I'm not trying to oppress anyone, I'm just poor. "If you really loved me," she says, "money wouldn't matter. You'd want to provide for me and make me feel special." Point out that she also has a job and could contribute sometimes. "Wow," she says, "so you want me to pay for my own oppression? Do you know how much emotional labor I put into this relationship?" Ask what she means by emotional labor. "I have to constantly educate you about basic human decency," she explains. "That's exhausting and you should be compensating me for it." My brain short-circuits trying to process this logic, that feel when you realize you might be dating someone with a serious case of cognitive dissonance. Decide to try a different approach and suggest free date ideas. "We could go hiking or have a picnic in the park," I suggest. She wrinkles her nose like I suggested eating garbage. "That's not very romantic," she says. "I thought you wanted to treat me like a queen." Queens don't go on budget dates. Start to see Tyler's point about being whipped, but also genuinely like her when she's not lecturing me about privilege. She's smart and passionate and makes me want to be a better person. Just wish she'd be more consistent about her values. Things get weird when she starts posting about our relationship online. Writes long captions about finding a man who understands consent and emotional intelligence. Her posts get hundreds of likes from her feminist friends. Meanwhile, I'm eating ramen noodles for dinner because I spent all my money on her. Tyler keeps telling me to dump her, but I think there's potential here. Maybe she just needs time to work through her contradictions. Decide to have one more honest conversation about our dynamic. "Riley," I say during our next coffee date, "I want to support your beliefs, but I'm confused. You say you want equality, but then expect me to pay for everything. You criticize traditional gender roles, but want me to act like a traditional provider. Can you help me understand how this works?" She takes a deep breath and actually seems to consider my question. "You know what?" she says finally. "You're right. I have been sending mixed messages." My face when she actually admits to being contradictory. "I guess I want the benefits of feminism without giving up the benefits of traditional dating," she continues. "That's not really fair to you. Feel like we're finally getting somewhere productive." "I think I've been so focused on fighting patriarchy that I didn't realize I was creating my own double standards," she says. "Maybe we can figure out a way to make this work for both of us. Suggest we start over with clear expectations about money and roles. What if we alternate who pays?" I propose, "and we both contribute to planning dates and stuff." She agrees and actually seems relieved to not have to maintain the cognitive dissonance. Our next date, she insists on paying and picks a reasonably priced restaurant. "This is actually really nice," she says. "I forgot how good it feels to treat someone." Start to see a different side of her when she's not performing feminist outrage. She's actually pretty funny and down to earth when she drops the act. Slowly develop a more balanced relationship where we both contribute. She still occasionally lectures me about social justice, but now I can call her out when she's being hypocritical. "That sounds like you want special treatment," I'll say when she gets demanding. "You're right," she'll admit. "Let me rethink that." 6 months later, we're actually dating in a way that makes sense. She pays for dates sometimes and doesn't expect me to be her personal ATM. Still passionate about feminism, but more self-aware about her own contradictions. Tyler admits he was wrong about her being hopeless. "She actually seems cool now," he says, "once she stopped trying so hard to be oppressed." That feel when you realize people can grow and change if you give them the chance. We still argue about politics sometimes, but now it's actually productive. She challenges me to think differently, and I help her stay grounded in reality. Turns out the secret to dating a feminist is helping them apply their values consistently, not just agreeing with everything they say to avoid conflict. who knew that treating someone like an equal meant actually holding them accountable. Beamy 27, married to my college girlfriend, Brooklyn, for 3 years now. She's got that whole I'm not like other girls energy, but also somehow embodies every millennial stereotype simultaneously. Works in marketing, drinks oat milk lattes, has strong opinions about which Netflix true crime documentaries are problematic. Our relationship dynamic is basically her assuming I'm an emotionally unavailable robot while I pretend that's not slowly destroying my soul. She'll be like, ugh, men never communicate, while I'm literally trying to tell her about my day. But whatever. We've got a good thing going, matching IKEA furniture and a shared Spotify premium account. The existential dread is manageable, as long as I stick to my routine. Wake up, anxiety spiral about climate change for exactly 7 minutes. Coffee, work, come home, pretend everything is fine. Brooklyn has this theory that emotional intelligence is something only women possess. Like she's genuinely convinced that men are just walking wallets with anger issues. You wouldn't understand, she'll say when talking about feelings. It's a girl thing. Meanwhile, I'm over here having full-blown panic attacks about whether we're saving enough for retirement. But sure, I'm the emotionally stunted one. This whole delusion gets shattered on a random Tuesday that starts like any other day of capitalist suffering. I'm working from home because the office makes me want to delete myself from existence. Brooklyn's also remote today, taking Zoom calls about synergistic brand experiences or whatever dystopian nonsense her job involves. Around 2 p.m., I get a call that my childhood dog back at my parents' house is being put down. This dog basically raised me, was there through my awkward emo phase, my existential crisis sophomore year, everything. Hang up the phone and just start ugly crying at my kitchen table. We're talking full body sobs, the kind where you question why humans evolved to feel pain this intensely. Brooklyn finishes her call and walks into the kitchen to find me absolutely destroyed. She freezes like she just walked in on me committing a crime. "Why are you crying?" she asks, genuinely confused, like she's never seen a man express emotion before. Try to explain between sobs that my dog is dying and I'm having a complete breakdown. "Wait," she says, sitting down slowly. "You're actually sad about this?" Like genuinely upset, not just pretending because you think that's what I want to see? Stare at her through my tears, wondering what kind of sociopathic response she was expecting. "Brooklyn," I managed to say, "of course I'm sad. I love that dog." She gets this look on her face like I just told her the earth is flat. "But you're a guy," she says, as if this explains everything. Guys don't really feel things the same way women do. My grief temporarily pauses because I'm too bewildered to continue crying. "What do you mean I don't feel things?" I ask. "Like I have emotions. I'm literally having one right now." She starts pacing around the kitchen, clearly having some kind of internal crisis. "But you never cry," she says. "You never talk about your feelings. You just bottle everything up and fix problems." Realize she's been married to me for 3 years and apparently thinks I'm a robot. "I talk about my feelings all the time," I tell her. "You just dismiss them as guy problems or change the subject." She stops pacing and looks at me like I'm speaking a foreign language. "When have you ever tried to talk about feelings?" she challenges. Time to absolutely destroy her worldview with facts and logic. "Last month when I told you I was stressed about work and you said, 'At least you get paid more than women.' 2 weeks ago when I mentioned feeling lonely and you said men can't understand real loneliness. Literally yesterday when I said I was anxious about visiting your parents and you said anxiety is different for men." Watch her face go through the 5 stages of grief in real time: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance that she's been emotionally gaslighting me. "Oh no," she whispers, sitting down heavily. "Oh no, oh no, oh no. Have I been invalidating your emotions this entire time?" "Yes, Brooklyn," I say, wiping my nose. "You have." She starts hyperventilating, pulling out her phone. "I need to Google this," she says frantically. "Do men actually have feelings?" Watch her search history become a rabbit hole of male emotional intelligence and toxic femininity. Meanwhile, I'm still processing the fact that my wife genuinely believed I was incapable of human emotion. She's reading articles out loud like she's discovering fire. It says here that men experience depression at higher rates, but are less likely to seek help due to social stigma. Oh my God, do you have depression? "Brooklyn," I say gently, "I've been in therapy for 2 years. You knew this. I thought you were just going for, anger management or something. That moment when you realize your spouse has been living in a completely different reality." She's now full-blown spiraling, reading feminist think pieces about emotional labor. Wait, she says, looking up from her phone. If men have feelings, then what about all my complaints about emotional labor? Am I the one who's been emotionally unavailable? Watch her entire identity crisis unfold in real time. It's like seeing someone realize they're in the Matrix, but instead of red pills, it's just basic human empathy. I feel terrible, she says, which is ironic because now she's the one expressing emotions. How do I fix this? What do I do with this information? Suggest maybe starting by asking me how I'm feeling instead of assuming I don't have feelings. She nods frantically, taking notes in her phone like this is a work presentation. Okay, she says. How are you feeling right now? About what? I ask. About everything. About me not knowing you had emotions. About your dog. About anything. Tell her I'm feeling sad about my dog, confused about our relationship dynamic, and oddly relieved that we're finally talking about this. She starts crying, which is somehow the most human I've seen her in months. I'm so sorry, she sobs. I've been terrible. I just assumed, I thought, all my friends said, yes, the friends. Probably the source of her revolutionary theory that men are emotionless zombies. We spend the next hour having the most honest conversation we've had in years. Turns out she's been suppressing her own emotions too, just in different ways. Always felt pressure to be the emotional one in the relationship. Never considered that maybe I was just better at hiding my feelings because society taught me to. It's like a therapy session, but with more existential dread and millennial anxiety. So when you just sit quietly, she asks, you're not thinking about nothing? You're actually having thoughts and feelings? Explain that my brain is basically a constant live stream of anxiety, random song lyrics, and intrusive thoughts about death. That sounds exhausting, she says. Welcome to being human, I reply. She spends the next few days overcompensating, asking me about my feelings every 30 minutes. How are you feeling about breakfast? What emotions are you having about this traffic? Are you okay? You look like you might be experiencing something. Have to gently explain that having emotions doesn't mean I'm having a constant emotional emergency. But honestly, it's kind of nice to have someone actually care about my internal experience. Even if she's approaching it like a sociology experiment. She starts reading books about male psychology, which is hilarious because it's just regular psychology. Comes home with revelation like, did you know men can experience sadness? Brooklyn, I say, who did you think wrote all those sad songs? Robots? Our relationship actually improves dramatically once she accepts that I'm a full human being. We start having real conversations about stress, anxiety, hopes, fears, all that stuff. Turns out we're both just anxious millennials, trying to figure out how to be adults. She apologizes to her friends for years of man-bashing, which creates its own drama. But Jessica, she tells her friend, what if men are just people with feelings? Jessica does not take this well. Brooklyn loses some friends over her newfound belief in male humanity, but gains a better relationship with her husband. So, fair trade. We go to couples therapy, which she initially suggests to help me process my emotions better. Therapist gently explains that Brooklyn might also benefit from examining her own emotional patterns. Cue another existential crisis. You mean I'm not emotionally perfect? She asks, genuinely shocked. Therapist and I exchange a look that says, oh honey. Months later, Brooklyn becomes obsessed with emotional intelligence content, follows every psychology influencer on Instagram, shares articles about toxic femininity and emotional availability, overcorrects so hard that she's now the emotion police. That person cut you off in traffic, she'll say. How does that make you feel? Brooklyn, I say, sometimes mild annoyance is an appropriate response. You don't need to psychoanalyze every moment. But honestly, it's better than being treated like a walking ATM with anger issues. We learn to balance it out. She stops assuming I'm emotionally dead. I start sharing more. Still have anxiety spirals about whether we're doing this relationship thing right. But now at least we're having anxiety spirals together. My dog passes away peacefully, and Brooklyn cries with me at the funeral. I can't believe I almost missed this, she says, holding my hand. Missed what? I ask. You being human. We're still figuring it out, but turns out relationships work better when both people acknowledge each other's humanity. Revolutionary concept, I know. Brooklyn starts a blog about unlearning toxic relationship patterns. Gets exactly 12 followers, but she's really proud of it. Meanwhile, I'm just happy to exist in my own marriage without having to hide half my personality. That feel when your wife discovers you're not a robot and suddenly your relationship makes sense. Who knew that treating your spouse like a complete person would be relationship goals? Apparently, we're still learning basic human interaction skills in our late 20s. But hey, at least we're learning them together while having matching anxiety disorders. Brooklyn printed out articles about emotional intelligence and put them on our fridge, next to grocery lists and appointment reminders. Honey, I say, don't need to study emotions like they're a foreign language. But what if I miss something important? She asks. Explain that emotions are pretty intuitive once you accept that everyone has them. She takes notes. Sometimes I catch her watching me like she's observing a fascinating new species. What are you thinking about? She'll ask when I'm quiet. Honestly, whether we have enough toilet paper? That's actually really relatable, she admits. Turns out most human thoughts are pretty mundane. Revolutionary discovery for someone who thought men only think about sports and food. Our relationship is weird now, but in a good way. Like we're both constantly surprised that the other person is a complex human being. Probably should have figured this out before getting married, but better late than never. Brooklyn's therapist says we're making remarkable progress, which is therapists speak for, wow, you two were really messed up. But we're working on it, one emotional revelation at a time. And honestly, having someone finally acknowledge that I have feelings is pretty nice, even if it took a complete existential crisis to get there.